Monday evening, nice full house. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education on May 8, 2017. Ms. Marino, would you please take the roll call?
Okay, Simmons.
Present.
Nelson.
Present.
Briggs. Here. Blackman.
Here.
Paredes.
Here.
Huckabee.
Here.
Ford.
Here. So the first item on the agenda is student recognition. We are honoring some students tonight who participated in the history fair, and Ms. Dwyer from Parker will do the introductions for us.
Thank you. Good evening. So I'm Ms. O'Dwyer. I'm going to call myself, well, I'm a 7th grade teacher at Parker. I'll call myself the teacher mentor of this project. Along with, I've got the other mentors, Ms. McKenna, if you can just stand up for a minute, Ms. Seipin, and Mr. Youngquist. I just wanted to say that we are beyond proud of our students, and I'm going to call them actually our young scholars, because I feel that they're worthy of that title now. Watching them work on their project from, let's just say we started, was in November? November through March, so it was almost a 4-month project. Mr. Youngquist worked with some 8th grade students in his enrichment period. So this was an optional program for the 8th graders. They decided to do this just on their own. It's not for a grade, so it was just something that was optional for them. And then he worked with them in his enrichment class. And then in 7th grade, we introduced this project. Basically, we got approval to add it to our curriculum. And it was just a spearhead. We just decided to go with this. And we're really happy with the results. So to see them go from starting their project, thinking of something that they were going to work on, what their title was, to going through the research, to presenting it to their class of peers, and then going on to the local history fair, which we hosted at Parker on March 15th. And then they were the winners of that fair, so we were able to pick 11 projects. We had 149 students competing. That was really impressive. We were very proud of that. And watching them present their projects, not only to, I guess you would call them strangers, but they were teachers and parents, and we prepared judges to be able to judge their projects, and they presented their projects. And then this group actually won that competition, and they went on to Lane Tech Academy on April 12th, and they again presented their projects actually to another group of strangers that were judges, and to watch them present their projects with such joy and such enthusiasm and such knowledge was really, really impressive. So really, really proud of this group. I would also like to thank a few people. Number one was the PTO for Parker. They were nice enough to support our efforts in having this fair hosted at Parker. That included gifts for students. We also had some pizza and some little incentives for them to be at the fair, so we appreciate that. We also want to thank the parents and teacher volunteer judges. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, so that was really wonderful that they were able to do that. And then we also wanted to thank Sarah Redenger, who's our media specialist, who is just amazing with preparing our students with research. She does such a great job, so we're really happy for that. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and give the certificates. I think I'll just mention that they had 4 different ways that they could produce their projects. So the theme was called Taking a Stand in Chicago History. And not only were they researching about the topic, they were researching about how to craft an argument and how to, who was a group that took a stand. So not just researching the group themselves, but how did they actually make a difference in society. So some of the projects were really outstanding. Oh yeah, the 4 ways, sorry. So the 4 ways, they could either write a paper, which we had some students write papers. They could produce a play or a documentary. We had several of those. They could build a website or produce an exhibit. So all 4 of those methods were used in producing what they thought was the best way to showcase the project. So here we go. So I think we'll start with, so when we call your name and you're up here, if you guys could come around here and shake the hands of the board members and then stay up here for a photo, that would be great. Okay, so Taj, is it Taj Mathis Akinrami? Jelani Perry. Justin Tippins. Kennedy Robertson. Peyton Robinson. Jaya Russell. Ari Slime. Kennedy Smith.
Adrian Tanguma.
Adrian Tanguma. Dylan Taylor. Jordan Thompson. Anthony Viveros. Michael White. And that's Jake Whitburn.
Yep, we can get everybody to come over in this way, and staff, feel free to join in.
Come on, let's go.
Come on.
And anybody wants to take pictures, if you want to come out in the middle, feel free.
You guys want to come on in?
Yeah, all right.
One, two, three. One more. Have one more round of applause.
Bring it in, will you use an example of how to create it?
Okay, we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, and we do have another student to honor tonight. And to do this introduction, we invite Mr. Ed Beavers from Country Financial to the podium.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking time out to hear about Money Smart Week and the accomplishments of Jada Watson. In support of Money Smart Week, April 22nd through the 29th, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago and Country Financial awarded 3 Money Smart Kids scholarships on April 12th. Jada Watson of Parker Junior High was named a runner-up among more than 100 essays. For the contest, students in grades 5th through 8th were asked to write an essay of 300 words or less on the following topic. Do you think there is a connection between financial health and physical health? And what can a city, state, or national policymaker do to promote financially healthier citizens? In addition to writing an essay, students had to be recommended by a teacher and be able to demonstrate how they practice good money management. Jada wrote a very compelling essay, and I had a chance to meet her as a finalist. I think you should hear Jada's great ideas directly from her. She's going to share her essay with us.
because one piggybacks off the other. If someone's financial health isn't at a minimum standard, then neither will their physical health. It's harder for me to understand the struggles of being financially unstable because I have a mother and father who provide for me. But there are steps to being financially and physically healthy. Planning ahead is the key to saving money in small ways. For example, if you prep a meal yourself, it may only cost around $2. Instead of $10, it may cost to eat out. $10 might not sound like a lot, but multiply it by 7 times a week with 4 weeks in a month to get a total of $280 a month. If you plan ahead, you can at least cut that number in half. You can put aside $56 for groceries, and then you have $224 you can add to your savings account. Cities, states, or national policymakers can help promote financially healthier citizens in many ways. One of the ways can be to promote commercials or ways to be financially healthy. They can also advertise the cons of being financially unhealthy, which might not make people decide that they should change their ways. Cities could fund a program or organization that teaches and pushes people to become financially healthy. Lastly, states could reward people every year for being the most financially healthy and working the hardest. The people who appear the weakest at being financially healthy in the state can be enrolled in a program, and by the end of the program, see who improved the most. Those who improve the most will be awarded. This can make being financially healthy fun, and it could become a goal on it.
Come on up, we're gonna do a picture and you know what, could you just say one more thing about the award?
Oh,
Just so folks in the room know exactly what that was.
well, as a runner-up, Jada was awarded $1,000 scholarship. And she is our money ambassador.
We've got a certificate for you, but that certificate's really cool. That's great.
Great job. We are now going to move to audience comments. Community members wishing to be heard by the board must have signed in before the commencement of the meeting. According to Board Policy 2-230, the board president has the authorization to restrict comments to 5 minutes. For ethical and legal reasons, comments or communications regarding school personnel who work in the district will not be heard in this format. During this part of the meeting, audience comments will be limited to 5 minutes or less. I believe we have one gentleman who signed in, Mr. Charles Geringer.
Hi, I'm Charles Derringer. I've probably been here 4 or 5 years ago. I've lived in this community for over 40 years. I actually came to the speed school back when it was built and destroyed by Mother Nature, flood, in 1974. My background is in education, but I'm a watershed engineer, so you gotta be in the right place at the right time to get these kind of jobs. But I'm also retired from the world's largest sanitary district, which, in my opinion, is the most transparent. And you guys are doing a pretty good job, I gotta tell you, because I attend meetings around here in most of the communities, and I think you're doing a good job in terms of transparency. I don't see current videos up there, but maybe there's somewhere that I missed. But I wanted to talk about, I think your webpage and preparing your students for the future. Two of my grandkids are in your school district, so I'm fortunate that they chose a good place to go to school. I want to talk basically, does anybody here know what the biggest resistance to change has been in education in the past, and it still seems to be? I wasn't here to quiz you, but still, it's called keyboarding. And the technology has been around since 1932 to learn the proper keyboarding skills. And there's a webinar that's going to be on the 18th on learning.com, because we don't teach keyboarding skills. We don't teach a lot of things we probably need to teach, but my doctor can't write any better than my grandkids. Actually, it's the other way around. But I do think keyboarding skills is something that needs to be really looked at, because if you learn the wrong way, which is what we're teaching presently, carpal tunnel syndrome is one of the benefits of using the QWERTY keyboard. I brought a keyboard over to share with your superintendent. Using the Dvorak keyboard, I'm sorry about my voice, that was something happened in Vietnam called Agent Orange. I think it's related to that. But keyboarding skills are really important in our communications. And I know you're doing a good job getting kids to communicate, work on community projects. So enough been said about that, other than I think we can move ahead. And I think I have some examples of other schools in the country that are teaching keyboarding skills. Now, unfortunately, they're still not teaching the right keyboarding skills. And believe it or not, the Guinness Book of Records shows 250 words a minute. That was Barbara Blackburn. When Apple came out, she holds the record on that, 250 words a minute. Whereas a person with a single hand can type 80 words a minute with the Dvorak keyboard, which was, interestingly enough, developed right here at the University of Chicago in 1932 by God, through a Carnegie grant. But it just gives you an idea of the resistance of people that work so hard to overcome the QWERTY keyboard, which is engineered to slow you down and cause all kinds of physical stress in your body. And that's all very well back. Enough about that. I just wanted to talk about change in education. My doctor's from Northern, and I wrote my research on township school trustee system in Illinois compared to other states, and where we went wrong and they maybe went a better way. So now we have 800 and some school districts, depending on how many co-ops you count. And we need to really reduce that. And I live in Chicago Heights, part of Flossmoor, some district. My mayor is trying to resolve some issues with 7 school districts in our city. And as a result of what's going on in 169 Ford Heights, we could possibly lose Ford. We could possibly lose some of our major industry. We've already had a lot lost because of the taxation principles of the school district not being receptive to the overall needs of the community. And the way the laws are written in this state, it's very hard to merge school districts together. I actually came from Morris, Illinois, where I was involved in a reorganization study with 3 school districts, and the farming people could not get along with city people because, the kids got to work out in the fields at certain times of day. So it's been a long haul, and I think it's time, if we're going to fix education. And I'm also working at the college level because I've gone to the legislature and talked about the needs in higher education. But I do think that there's a bill presently in the legislature, our local DeLuca, and I'll give you the bill number. If you'd like to take a look at it, I think it's important. Whether it's the right answer or not, I just think we have to start somewhere, and we need to get going with this. We're not going to have resources at all if we don't get this fixed. And I'm going to say 3250, I'm sure. House Bill 3052. So anyway, that's my speech for tonight. Thank you for listening. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now move to the next item on our agenda, which is the superintendent's report. Dr. Fox.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, everyone. I want to start with a thanks to Ms. Crawford and the many staff members who put together the 1 hour open house we had here, the hour before this meeting started. I was able to stop in there for a few minutes and heard some great dialogue going on. I got to take a look at some materials, started to question my own knowledge of mathematics. It seemed like a very well-attended event, and I appreciate that. And I know we're going to hear an update in a little while, so I'm going to get off of math for now. But just a couple quick reminders, and to the board, I'll put this in an update again. But graduation is right around the corner, 7:30 p.m. on Monday, June 5th at the high school. Board members, you're going to get information from the Parker administration to arrive at 7 o'clock, but we'll get you that more information coming up on that, but it is right around the corner. Also right around the corner, even closer, is the National Junior Honor Society That is, our induction is at 6:30 on May 16th at the junior high. And board members, if you are able to come, please contact Kathy Perino. We also have, just to mark your calendars, May 15th, 15th Annual Visual Arts Expo from 5:30 to 7:30. And then, believe it or not, we're talking about the last day of school is Wednesday, June 7th. And that's a full day of school for our students. Also for the board, an event coming up, the district's annual recognition tea is on May 24th at 4 p.m. I'll get something back out to you on this one. But we get to honor our retiring staff, our staff who are in tenure, our staff who've been with the district 10, 20, and 30 years. And again, May 24th, if you're able to attend, please contact Kathy Perino. So a lot of you walked in the room today and said, wow, this is different. Please give me feedback if you are liking the setup, not liking the setup, if there's something you want to change. I know Ms. McCraven and I had a brief conversation before, and I see how she's got her chair angled. We talked about maybe angling these seats out here so that we do a little better job visually, but I felt bad for the board members who used to sit on this side when we returned, because you're always craning your neck to try to see the board. So hopefully that works out a little bit better for them, and anybody with feedback later on, if you want to share it with me about this setup, and we'll just keep trying until it feels good for everybody. So also, our next meeting, May 22nd, it's listed as a committee of the whole, but I mentioned once before that we need to make that into a special board meeting. We've got at least one or two timely business items, one of them regarding Title I funds. So we'll be asking for approval of some of those plans that night. So that committee of the whole is going to turn into a special meeting. And finally, for tonight, I would ask for a little change in our agenda. That when we get to the consent agenda, I'd ask that motion not to include the personnel report, and that then towards the end of our meeting, we have a motion to go into executive session briefly to discuss matters of personnel before we come back and deal with that report. And I want to thank the board for your service. For some of you, it's early on in that service, and I'm looking forward to working with you here for a little while. Thanks for all the good things you do for the community and for our students. Thank you.
Here's Visual Arts Expo. Here.
Right here.
Oh, it's
In this room or in, throughout the,
No.
thank you.
We're doing a recognition tea and not lunch. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Pop. The next item on the agenda actually is the consent agenda items. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of the personnel report? We will pull that out.
So moved.
Kathy, Ms. Carino, please take the floor.
Okay, has Paredes to the motion, who seconded it?
Ms. Huckabee.
Okay. All right. Simmons?
Yes.
Griggs? Yes. Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes. And the motion is approved. Next item on the agenda is information discussion item only. It's the math curriculum update. Ms. Crawford.
Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Pop mentioned, we just finished our information night for our math curriculum as planned. Parents and staff were, as well as our committee members, attended to display the materials and hear from experts on each of the programs. Parents had a lot of questions around just the visuals of the programs, being able to flip through the pages and see what their students will experience for homework as well as workbooks. It was really important for us to be able to show the print materials that we would purchase with either of the or any of the programs that we go with. I did not get a chance to do the count of how many people attended. I ran from there to this meeting, but we did ask each family or each parent who attended to fill out an exit slip with some questions regarding what they thought of the materials, what they thought about the responses from the experts and the the content of each of the programs. So this week we'll spend time going through those exit tickets and getting a final count of how many families attended, as well as using that feedback to compile that data for our final decision. Last week we visited the Park Forest School District to observe Eureka materials in action. We did 2 days of visits. We visited classrooms at the junior high level as well as the elementary buildings. We had a chance to see the program being taught across the grade levels in more of a guided math structure, which is the structure that we currently use to teach and teach in small groups, so that was really helpful. In the next 2 weeks, we are going to visit Lake Forest School District, who is using Bridges, which we are currently piloting. So we're excited for that visit and to be able to compare those programs and make partnerships with those school districts. Our teachers just began Bridges late last week, early this week. Any questions?
Any other questions? I have a couple.
Okay, great.
Just curious, how long has the Park Forest School District been using that program?
They're in their third year.
In the third year. And so did they talk at all about the learning curve for both teachers as well
Yeah.
as students?
Yeah.
Has it taken the 3 years to sort of get up the learning curve, or have they been able to see small successes along?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time debriefing that and discussing with them. From their perspective, they took a different route. They jumped right into utilizing the Eureka program, sort of cold turkey, dropped everything, did not pilot, just decided to start with that, and did not do professional development on the program for the first year. So for the first year, they sort of winged it and did online modules and things to get up to speed on it. So you can imagine that the learning curve was quite steep that first year, and they really stressed to us that if you do go with the program, invest in the professional development, invest in the training for your teachers. We learned a lot of lessons by not doing that. And then they said that that was key going into years 2 and now year 3, just making sure that the professional development was ongoing. And they really stressed 2 things: utilizing the company's structured professional development, as well as training key people once they got going with it, to be sort of leaders in the school district to help carry out the implementation. Again, after that first year of sort of going at it with no professional development, which we would absolutely not do. So it was a good lesson.
I'm not quite sure how they did that. I mean, that's just cold turkey. And are they seeing student growth now with respect to now in the third year?
Yeah, so what they stressed to us is that they're seeing the student growth show up not as much on paper. They definitely want to see their test scores get better. They have improved, but they would like more growth. But what they also stressed is that they really see a change in attitude in their students towards math. That they did see a higher level of engagement from their students in terms of interest in math, and they really attributed that to the training and to their teachers' level of commitment.
And then
Yes. I'm sorry.
Just one last question. So I know you're getting parent feedback, and of course you're getting teacher feedback. I'm just curious whether or not that our students are the experts, but they obviously have opinions. Is there any opportunity for students to give their opinion on both of the pilot programs?
Yes, we definitely will, and definitely more so from the junior high level where students are really, definitely upper elementary, but especially from the junior high level where students are really able to articulate their level of engagement and their level of interest in materials.
Or level of frustration?
Or level of
Which is
frustration,
better,
yes,
yeah.
or lack of interest,
Okay.
exactly. Yes,
Okay, so is there do we have a parent training tutorial module or something to help our parents get up to speed about how to be supported at home? And or have we, or have you run into any feedback from districts we've either gone to or are intending to visit on site, where they had mentioned a parent outreach program that went with the new math program.
Yeah, so we do not currently have a parent module or an online training for either one of the programs. I would guess if I did some research, it's probably out there for both of the programs because they're fairly well-known programs, so that's something I could definitely look into. Park Forest, again, Bridges we just started. We'll learn more when we go on the site visit for Bridges, so that will definitely be something we'll be asking for. But Park Forest did share with us that one of the drawbacks of Eureka that they found early on is that they did not feel like from the get-go the materials were very user-friendly for parents at home.
Okay.
So they did a lot of, and we have really appreciated them being transparent with that feedback. They did a lot of parent universities and a lot of parent courses to help break down the material and adapting some of the homework to make sure it's accessible to all parents. So knowing that, that is something possibly that we would have to do, and we would need to factor that into our decision of whether or not to go with the program.
Okay, so just to clarify, wherever we go forward with whatever program we commit to, we will, or we're investigating a parent university sort of tutorial for parents?
Yes, I would imagine that we would go that route regardless
Okay.
of which program we go with, because just as this is new learning for our students and for our teachers, we'll need to really make sure that parents have a grasp of what's expected from students at home as well. Any more questions?
You're going to Park Forest for the Bridges program. Do you know what did they have before they went to Bridges?
Park Forest is using Eureka.
Oh, you
Before they went to Eureka 3 years ago, they were using the Live Binders, which is currently what we use for a majority of our curriculum.
And have you done visits to other school districts that are implementing the other two programs you're assessing?
That's coming up in the next 2 weeks. We're going to Lake Forest School District.
Okay. Have you had any negative feedback from anyone? You know, the school districts that the vendors are going to suggest to you are going to be the ones they're happy with.
Yeah,
So-
neither one of those school districts were suggested by vendors. I scouted those programs out by reaching out to our regional office of education, as well as just putting emails out to my colleagues in other districts, hey, who's using these programs, do you know anyone that would recommend? And that's exactly why we didn't go with sort of calling the company and saying, hey, tell us, where should we go? I wanted to have more authentic conversations.
Of the three programs we're assessing, have you gotten any either negative feedback or sort of, crickets when you asked around about, do you like this program?
Yeah, again, so we just started Bridges, and then the junior high has just started with the additional program. From Eureka, there's been some feedback from teachers around whether it's a good fit for our district. Our teachers teach with guided math, for example, and that is definitely a structure that we don't want to lose. We value teaching in small groups, we value that structure, and for our teachers, the Eureka program needs to be modified extensively in order to fit that structure. So that would be a negative for that one. Also, having just finished up Eureka, again, some of the materials can be a little confusing or maybe not give enough direction. So that would be something that we would need to factor in. Do we really want something where we have to do that amount of legwork if another program provides it differently? A third thing with Eureka is that we have some questions around the assessments with Eureka. We would need to do some modifications to make sure that the assessments are aligned across all of our grade levels and that they're consistent and they're lengthy. So we would need to pull some things out and piece some things together, which in reality, that's currently what we do right now. So we want to make sure that we're working smart and not hard, but working hard to be smart.
Okay, any more questions from the school? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next item on the agenda is also an informational item, unpaid meal charge policy. Ms. Bella.
As part of the National School Lunch Program, the USDA has come out with guidelines now that requires the school board to have an actual policy and procedure around unpaid meal charges. I gave you some information as to where we stand currently with unpaid meal charges. We have a total in the district of closing in on $14,000 worth of unpaid meal charges, anywhere from 35 cents to as high as $400. We're kind of looking for some input from the board as to how we want to go with our procedure and policy here so far as collection of those fees. We feel pretty strongly that the children need to eat, otherwise they're not going to be paying attention as well in class, and we need to have them be fed. Keeping in mind too that these charges really are coming from our full paid students. One of the things I know that we want to do is make sure that we continue to follow up with these students and continue to provide the free reduced lunch application form so that if a family truly is not able to pay, that hopefully they will complete the form so that we can just have them free of charge and they're not racking up fees that they truly can't afford to pay. I know Dr. Smith has had some experience talking about some of this with his current school district. It is kind of, right now, the children will receive a lunch and the cost is added to their lunch account. At the junior high, they're not allowed to purchase any a la carte items if they do have a lunch bill, but we do provide them with the lunch. Now, we do get some reimbursement for those paid lunches. It's very minimal compared to what we get for free and reduced lunch. But that's kind of, where we stand. We don't really pursue it too actively. I think we would like to put some steps in there to make sure that the buildings are following up consistently and consistently give information on how they have those fees. We're waiting to provide it if they truly cannot. But we wanted to see if the board has any druthers as to how far we go along. I have seen policies that have said that we would provide alternative lunches, of which a lot of those would not be reimbursable at all from the government, so going so far as sending people to collections. We've even seen one sample policy that goes so far as to say called DCFS, which I think is kind of pretty ridiculous. But I guess what we're looking for is, if we were to write policy and procedure that essentially continues to provide students with lunch and just continues to follow up with the families with regard to payment and continuing to pursue a free reduced lunch application, is that acceptable to the board?
I'll start. So just so I understand, $14,000 you say in unpaid meal charges. Right. So I get these emails all the time. Food, low service, low balance alert. And I assume my wife takes care of it, and she assumes I'm going to take care of it. And I'm pretty sure I'm part of that number. Because I was just looking, I probably have hundreds in my box, for like $5, right? So how much of that $14,000 is just, because we get these things through Skyward, or I couldn't even tell you how to pay now. But how much of that is just people who are a few bucks behind, as opposed to people who are sort of
I would say that the majority of the fees are anywhere between that 35 cent and just quickly scanning the list, $25 and under. The ones that are significant numbers are few. There's not a significant number of them. I mean, I'll go down a whole page of 50 items, and I just randomly opened up. I've got 2 on that page that are over 25. The rest of them are,
Okay, so I guess I would propose for discussion the following points. First, I don't think, I personally have zero interest in not having telling kids they can't eat. This is a parent's problem, not the problem, and to disrupt the school. for the 14,000 unpaid fees, it sounds like if I had to wager today, I'd say that a huge chunk of that is just the way our system works. And, you know, I get with 4 kids, 40, 50 emails a week from school.
So if we did a better job of providing the information to the parents regularly as to how they could go about rectifying these balances, that'd be part of what you like?
I'm sure if you looked at like my own kids account for as an example, I bet what you would see, I have to ask my wife, but I bet what you would see is she probably scores up at the end of the year. And probably lets it slide in the middle of the year, I suspect. But, so it sounds like one piece of it has to be just nagging people, scofflaws, like myself apparently, to pay on time. As for people who have balances, you know, over some number, let's say $100, I personally have no problem with approaching collections so long as the person in charge of doing that is exercising appropriate discretion. You know, checking out the facts and figuring out what's going on and making a decision based on the facts and not just automatically calling people.
So I have a question. So if we get to, do we have spot checks throughout the year before it gets to a certain point?
The system does automatically draw. And my understanding is that the buildings are calling
Throughout the year to say that, hey, the balance is getting kind of high. Okay.
Are the buildings, are they approaching this differently? I mean, what exactly happens? And I'm gonna send that to my specialist over here.
How are any,
We could notice that they're high when it's at cost for those fees in a letter. I mean, it doesn't mean that parents are going to pay, but at least that's kind of a reminder. So once we see that fees are so high, I'll have it add student assistance in a letter.
And right now, if a student comes and says, I want hot lunch, no matter what,
We cannot deny it.
we give them the hot lunch, and then we just charge them.
Right.
Okay.
If parents in Skyward, they get an email every day when they are in arrears over $5. So, I logged in as some parents and every day it's just email, but if you don't look at it, it doesn't help. So it's not like they don't know, they do know. The notice goes out daily when they're in arrears for that much.
We send a letter as well, we also make a phone call, especially in Spanish, make them know that it's.
Do we, have we looked into, or has this come up in the past, where we have parents pay like $20 as like a little buffer? I mean, when I go through iPass, I never think about it. It's just, that's a relationship between Illinois and American Express. You know, I just paid it up. So can we do something like that, or?
well, there's account balance, there's balances, there's positive balances.
But I mean, if I get low in my account and I go through iPass, it just automatically takes it from, or sends a bill to American Express.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have the ability to automatically pull at this point. I have heard of some school districts that do have that capability and have implemented that. That is something we could think about looking into.
What are we missing that we need to make that happen?
Maybe permission.
It is, it's a permission.
At the beginning of the
The parents
year.
would fill out an actual, something that says that you made
Yeah.
wrong.
Maybe even as part of a registration packet.
Yeah, because I know that, certainly I look for things like that so that it's just one less, thing I can keep track of. And as far as iPass, it's worked perfectly fine. And even my church had, last year I think they sent out a form where you could just, whether you showed up at church or not, it was an automatic donation of however much dollars you gave during the collection.
I know that there are a couple of school districts that do that with mostly for their student fees as well, so that is something for us to look into to see what that may be. I do know that there's usually a cost associated with it, but we can see what that is.
And that maybe including something at the beginning of the year as part of the registration process that gives that permission, or at least puts it out there, so parents will know that, you know, they are relying from this, and here it is, they're signing off on it as well.
I think that's why it was important that we brought it tonight, given the recent conversation about registration fees. By July 1st, we have to have the policy on the books, and then by law, we have to notify parents in writing of the new policy and procedures. When it comes to food, it's really a human right, so we really have to weigh how much risk can we manage financially as far as the lunch balances are concerned, and how much consistency can we generate between the buildings so that we're out ahead of those decreasing balances to prevent them from reaching the lower levels.
Last question. So, is this about normal from year to year? Is this going to spike? Like, is there a pattern?
No, I think this is
about
average.
for like over the last.
It's about average.
So it's nothing. It just needs to be done, but it's nothing that's not signaling
I don't see anything
something else.
signaling something else. Not when I look at them. I mean, if I saw that every other one was in 100, that would be one thing. But like I said, I'll look down at the page and there's 50 of them there, and maybe 2 or 3 of them are over the $25 mark. It's not huge. It's just there's a volume of them there. And like Mr. Nelson said, I totally get that. I know my kids are saying the same thing. It's like, oh, you need money in your account, don't you? Here I am, throwing some money to walking out the door. But yeah, it's one of those things that kind of sneaks up on you.
Remind me, is there any carryover? Have we seen any carryover
Oh, yeah.
year to year?
Yes, so this 13.9 at almost 14,000 is just this year. There's carryover to the, I think it's about 25,000.
Yeah, that's what I saw with 25, okay. So, in the past, what has been done?
Again, it's been the same type of thing. We've just been trying to run, but we've not done anything proactively to really try and get money in and continue to feed the students. The junior high, we don't allow them to purchase on the park, but other than that, they get a loan.
And we know it's full pay for the students who are full.
Yeah, they're full pay, because if there were children who are, I mean, there may be some reduced in there, but they're going only 40 cents a lunch, so they're going to stay pretty minimal. But the full pay kids are the ones that are on there, otherwise it goes into the system as no cost.
And there is no, because I think there was some kind of legislation on the books about, and I remember this, because I remember this from years ago, where my board was talking about there was a difference in meals of kids. Well, I'm not talking about in Parker, but I'm just saying in other places, so I don't really know. There is no difference there.
It sounds like we have,
Well, so if at Parker or elementary school, if a child brings a lunch, like so maybe I would know as a parent that I sent to lunch with my kid, but it's pizza day and they took pizza, right? So how like could that be?
Absolutely, it could happen.
Okay.
I actually like the idea of doing something up front. I mean,
Yeah.
even if, maybe not necessarily going into people's accounts in the way that we do, you know, in iPass, because I hear rumbles from, you know, parents. But if there's a way where we can encourage and even incentivize in some kind of way where parents would have to load their account up with some minimum dollar amount to start the school year. I mean, I also recognize this leads into the discussion around registration fees and the other things that are in arrears. But if there was something that we could do to encourage or incentivize parents to have to load up their account.
Let me take a look at what, because I know there was a couple of business officials who were doing those kinds of, you know, especially the signing off at the beginning. And like I said, the discussion was really around taking monthly hits to a credit card for student fees so that they were automatically coming out, they didn't have to keep chasing for checks. But I don't see any reason why you couldn't do the same thing for meals. So we can take a look at that as well.
well, I just want to make sure so it sounds like we have, the board liked the idea of auto pay, or there's always the infamous 2% surcharge that you pay late, and it seems to motivate people. But I don't know if we've answered the question of what about the people who are you know,
And that's
50,
true.
$100. So did I ask, do you want any tour guides from us, or was it such a
Well, I guess that's the
needed?
question. I mean, is sending families to collections or something along those lines, something that the board wants to put in there, whether it be after a certain dollar threshold or after a certain time threshold, or I don't, or, you know, I mean, I think we've all kind of agreed that no matter what happens with the balance amount, we agree that the children need to be fed.
Right.
It's just, now what do we do with when we get to a certain dollar threshold?
When we talked about the fee waiver policy, Mr. Simmons made a great point. He and I had some correspondence between a couple of meetings where we talked about that. And you said, don't put anything in policy that ties the hands of the superintendent. Give them, you know, flexibility. And it was a great point. And I think to this point, if we set a threshold, then you are forcing something to happen. Some suggested language we received on a different policy, policy number 4:45, was that the superintendent is authorized to seek collection of delinquent debt owed the district to the fullest extent of the law. So it is authorized to do it, but it doesn't say, hey, at this threshold you will act in a certain way. And so I think that's a nice option to be able to give ourselves that kind of flexible language. I also think that, going back to what we talked about before, that you know, when a principal knows that a parent is indicating, hey, I don't qualify for free or reduced lunch, but I'm struggling a little bit, that we give that principal the opportunity to work with that parent to set up some kind of payment system, so some options in, you know, a little bit at a time. So giving ourselves language that gives ourselves a wide range of actions.
The other side of that coin is, while allowing the superintendent flexibility, we do have to pursue this at some point. These are taxpayer dollars that are burdened with the scofflaws, to use that term. And I don't know how to distinguish between scofflaws or the lazy folks or those who aren't paying attention or it's not important to them, or those who are really in need but haven't yet filled out the proper paperwork for whatever reason. I don't know that that's our job, but I do know that $25,000 is not an immaterial amount.
Right.
And whether it's made up of 25,000 line entries and $1 each or some other amount, we do need to have a process in place that is followed. So guidelines, yes, maybe not hands tied, but the superintendent needs to have kind of guidance on when it's a concern, whether it's a dollar amount and or a time limit or some combination thereof.
Yes. So I think when we come to the next meeting with this drafted policy, I think we'll also have a change to 445 to take care of this part of the discussion, because these policies are linked.
Remind us again, when do the policies need to be approved and in place?
We would bring you a first reading at our next meeting.
22nd for approval, the first one in June, and then that also gives you then some leisure if we need to do some tweaking. You could always go to the second board meeting of June, still have that appropriately in place by July 1. So we have the next 3 meetings together.
So July 1 is your...
Yes.
Start July 1.
Is there a best policy or something that's worked really well that's out there that the Superintendent's Association kind of recommends? Or?
So they run the gamut. They really run the gamut between treating student lunch accounts as a debit account, which stops at 0, period, or a credit account, which you can run up a balance, to a scarlet letter of a different lunch. You know, so there's any number of options that are out there. I think I don't know that any work better than another, besides being very aggressive pre-0, right? So whatever that threshold is, whether it's $10 in an account, you start those notifications, and then you have a very clear set of procedures for, okay, now you're $5, now you're $10, well, that's a call from the principal. Now you're $15, okay, well, that's a letter from the superintendent. You can set procedures in place that will ramp up the pressure while balancing the dignity of the student. As we said, we don't want to punish children for an adult issue.
I would actually be in favor for a balance, encourage for parents to contribute to early on. And I think that, you know, just looking at our practices, it might be beneficial to look at, you know, where the $5 in arrears infractions are compared to the $100 in arrears. You know, if we can look at just numbers of, you know, how that might break down along the curve. Because then that, if there's a huge disparity between, you know, being like under $20 and, you know, over $100, you know, maybe that's something we could, I don't know, that might help inform our decision a little bit.
So for the $25,000 that's out there now, has there been any collection? Is it just kind of sitting out there, or is there any collection?
We don't
That's the
have
question.
anything for college.
So then my next question would be, so $25,000 is a lot to just be sitting out here. The resources, so I like the tiers of kind of escalation, so that, you know, understand that we need to get paid, if we need paid, or some arrangement, or someone has to speak up and say something. But then the resources, because staff is not collection agencies, so then what is the impact if someone now has to, however it's structured, to now serve as a debt collector? And I don't have a question, I don't have an answer to that question, I'm just wondering about the resources available at the level to effectively go after.
And we don't have those in-house levels. I mean, we would have to take a look at services. We used a service here before, but all they did was letters under a different letter. There was no teeth involved. It wasn't a collection agency. It was a letter writing agency.
So then could it just be that it's the consistency across the district? So what's being done now could be just fine with the letters that go out and the escalation points, but it just has to be consistently done and not have a drop off.
Just out of curiosity, so 25,000 was last year's number.
Last year with this number, with this year. So
Okay,
the
so
rollover.
it's coming- okay. My question is going to be, so what happens when the next school year starts? Do these students start at zero, or is it that you just answered my question?
So, it sounds like there's low hanging fruit. It seems like we could easily change that instead of getting an email alert when you're at negative $5. Just shift it up to
Yeah, I
$5.
think I like the idea of shifting it up to you only have this amount left into your account, and we can play with that within the constraints of our system too, and we can start looking at, you know, what's the appropriate amount to start drawing people. I mean, if the lunch is what, $2.85, you know, $5 is, you know,
You can stay at
maybe
least
a little more.
I'm also not thrilled with the idea of principals and staff spending, I don't know how much time we're really spending, making phone calls to people over $500. I mean, if we can,
I think we need to give them a threshold, but I think with this conversation, we've got enough information, we've got enough ideas that I think we can put something together for you that we can look at, and we'll get to you prior to the next board meeting if you have any questions or concerns. We can just start, you know, working the language so we get what we need to do.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
We will next move to item number 7, which is an action item. May I please have a motion to approve the 2017 non-bid construction project? So moved. Can I get a second? Second. Is there discussion? Any board members? Reno, can you call roll, please?
Okay, Blackman,
Yes.
Nelson,
yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Huckabee,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Ford.
Yes, and the motion is passed. The next action item, may I have a motion to approve an additional reading specialist at Western Avenue?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Let's bring up and have a roll call, please.
Fourth.
Yes, the motion has passed. The next action item, may I have a motion, please, to appoint Ms. Fran Labella, designated representative, and as an alternative, Dr. Dana Smith to represent Flossmoor School District 161 on the Board of Directors of the South Suburban Benefits Cooperative for the 2017-2018 school year.
So moved.
Ms. Huckabee, may I have a second, please? Dr. Griggs, any discussion? Ms. Carino?
Okay. Briggs?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion is passed. Next.
Long one, sorry.
That's okay. Next action item deals specifically with the 2017 to 2020 long-term disability insurance renewal. May I have a motion to replace Reliance Standard with Cigna Corporation as the long-term disability insurance carrier for District 161 at a monthly rate of 19 cents per $100 of covered payroll with a 3-year rate guarantee. This is a monthly savings of 6 cents per $100 of covered payroll when compared to the renewal proposal from Reliance Standard.
So moved.
Ms. Huckabee, may I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Paredes, any discussion at all?
Just out of curiosity, so this is the exact same product?
It's the exact same coverage, it's the exact same everything, except they gave us a 3-year rate guarantee and they went down as opposed to up. Cigna is also our life insurance carrier, so there's some other little pieces, some paperwork pieces that actually works a lot better, being that they are the life insurance carrier. But yeah, they came back very strong, and like I said, a 3-year rate guarantee, and Reliance was only giving us for 1 year, and it was significantly higher.
Any other questions? Ms. Carino, roll call, please.
Okay, Paredes?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion is passed. Next action item, approval of disposal of excess equipment. May I have a motion to approve removal of unused surplus and excess equipment that is no longer being used by the district? So moved. Moved by Ms. Huckabee. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Ms. Blackman? Any discussion? Questions?
Does this exercise cost the district anything? You have to pay any providers to come
No,
pick
this
this
is a-
up and or dispose of it?
No, this is a free service that they offer to school districts.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question. I hope this is relevant to this. Is it just school equipment? It's not including equipment that we were collecting through some
No,
cycle club thing?
it's just school district equipment.
Okay.
How decrepit is this equipment? Some of the CRT monitors are approaching like 15, 16 years old, and some of the units do not work anymore.
CRT, yes. So the computers are also the same age, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're like Pentium 2s.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Carino?
Okay, Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion is passed. Next action item, approval of summer assistance for technology and summer custodial services. May I have a motion to hire summer help for the operations and maintenance and technology department at $8.25 per hour. It refers to your help. For every year of service, summer help has worked for District 161. The administration recommends their wage will increase by 25 cents per hour.
So moved.
I have a first by Ms. Huckabee. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Dr. Graves, any discussion? Questions?
Question. I think it says this here, which raises a lot. This is budgeted expense, right?
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, are we using any of the interns that we used last year?
Yeah, we usually do.
There's a couple are coming back, and a couple have left me because they're done with college now, so.
We don't need you. You need us to keep on. Okay. Ms. Carino?
Okay. Blackman?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Briggs? Yes. Simmons?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion has passed. The next item, I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session to discuss matters of personnel.
That one right there, yeah.
The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. That is the context in which we are able to go into executive session. May I have a motion? So moved. Have a second? Mr. Paredes? Ms. Paredes?
Simmons?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion has passed. I do not think this should take longer than about 5 to 10 minutes. Our executive session, Ms. Carino, can you take the roll call, please?
Okay, Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Just come back here.
Here,
Here. Blackman?
Here.
Paredes?
Here.
Briggs? Here. Ford?
Here. So we have one other consent agenda item that we need to now approve. I need a motion, please, to approve the personnel report as presented. Mr. Paredes, a second, please. Second. Ms. Huckabee, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, Briggs? Yes. Simmons?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. The next item on the agenda, new business. Is there any new business for this evening that we need to discuss? No?
I like the setup.
You like this up?
Yeah.
It's a little weird over here.
Is it?
I got it.
Start off.
It's, you know, it's when before the meeting starts, when people come in, and like,
Their backs there.
gotcha.
You, ironically, are sitting almost exactly where you
Always say.
usually sit.
Any other comments, thoughts, John? You no longer have to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna kind of be this way more, not this, but.
So more the U shape again versus the.
Well.
Angle, so
So this whole thing moved
it
that
would
way.
be, that table would be kind of that.
So going
And this one would
down.
be kind of this way and this way. So we're all kind of sitting here looking up here and everybody else.
And we're facing Pat.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, that's right. When we do our setup.
I think it's better, but I don't want to change it every week.
We can see everyone's faces here.
This is kind of.
This one, we can't see their faces,
So if we angle it, then, so we could try it next time. I appreciate the feedback.
Any other new business? If not, then I move we adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. And the meeting is adjourned.